Hello again. So, an acquaintance had sent me a video, another YouTube video from a guy called Jack Chappell, who with 131k subscribers, and his video about there's something weird going on in the world right now. And yeah, basically the video is, talking about how people are going through some tough times. There's this coronavirus disease spreading through the world. The economy has been going through its worst period since the Great Depression. But there have been a few sort of strange things been happening throughout this time. And in sort of desperate times, funny things can happen. So they've mentioned in this video that after World War II, they had the high tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, and you had this battle between the superpowers to find out, who would become the big the big boss, sort of thing, big boss superpower, and then this threat caused some great advances in tech, and they had these ballistic missiles that he's talking about, which would launch and they'd stay within the atmosphere and then eventually hit their targets from hundreds of kilometers away. And then there was a distance of 7,800 kilometers between Moscow and Washington D.C. So if they wanted to hit each other, they would have this new piece of technology to be able to do that. So there was this intercontinental ballistic missile (ICBM) that was developed in 1957, the first missile capable of entering suborbital space and hitting a target on the other side of the planet. But then, almost by accident, they had the USSR had developed this, uh, alternate technology, and they used this. The USSR used the ICBM to launch Sputnik, the first satellite into space. So there is this amazing tech developments going on at that time, and obviously this it talks about various different things about NASA and DARPA and all of that stuff that was going on throughout history, and then basically talking about now how in the same way the virus is a threat, and people have been feeling very down and very anxious about all that. But there's been a lot of support and funding for biotech research to neutralize this threat. And, even countries coming together. And anyway, I thought maybe check out this video and see if you agree with what it's saying or not. Um, I don't know. Personally, I'm not really sure if it's true or not, but I hope it's true, and I hope that countries can put aside their differences and come together, work together to find solutions to the world's problems. Yeah, I very much hope that's the case. Of course, I don't really, I just don't know if that's gonna happen. But yeah, hopefully they will do. But then this sort of took me back, and I was thinking about this game I used to play when I was a little boy called Nemesis, and it was all about. It was a sort of a space game. In America, it was called Gradius, and you controlled this spaceship, this Viper spaceship, and you were battling waves of enemies through various different environments. And at the time, people were saying, destroy the core, because that was all what it was all about. And um, I was, I don't play video games nowadays. I sort of just do these YouTube videos instead. But I used to play games a lot with my childhood friends. I had an Amstrad and then a childhood friend who had this, Mega Drive system later on. And, people had different systems. I like to play the games on it, but nowadays I don't play the games. But back in the day, I was pretty good at these games, and this Nemesis one, I was able to get through and complete the game. So you'd go on and on. There'd be a passage from the exterior of the craft which led directly to one of the cores, and you'd fire shots into the passage. You'd avoid these attack patterns from the weapon emplacements on the boss's body, and then there'd be these small but sort of destructible walls situated in the passage. They were impeding the bullet shots from damaging the core, but they had to be sort of whittled away by repeating these shots, and you had to keep on doing that. There were these tiny walls that represented the shield gauge of the boss, until its core was ready to be attacked. And some bosses could regenerate their walls, and then when a core had sustained, if you'd hit it enough times, it would change color from sort of blue to red. It would indicate that it was in this critical state and that it was almost going to be destroyed. And then if the core got destroyed, then that would put a piece of the enemy, the enemy boss, out of commission. And then if you destroyed all of the cores, it would just kill the boss entirely and explode it, in a sort of satisfying thing. So that's sort of my memory of that game. And you started off, I remember there were these little crafts coming down, and you would shoot, and you'd shoot all of them. You'd get like a power up. You start off with this pea shooter gun, and it wasn't that great. But as time went on, you got sort of better capabilities. You'd get these things called options, which it gave you different guns basically that went around your ship. It was a kind of cool. I suppose in these day and age, it might be. I don't know what the military version of that would be. I'm not sure if it exists yet quite. But again, my knowledge is not really enough to know about that. I suppose you have these drones now, which are maybe the similar thing. And so you get all these capabilities, and you get speed ups, and you get different types of guns. You get laser guns and everything else. Okay, so why am I talking about that? So I'm talking about something that I've seen a lot of videos about this on YouTube, and I've seen a lot of videos about enemies. So I'm calling this video Nemeses, because it's an interesting topic. And I always thought I'm not really the kind of person that I'm going around looking for enemies, but sometimes, no matter what you do, you can sort of get people who don't like what you're doing for some reason, or maybe someone you were getting on with in the past gets in with a new crowd, and they don't like you anymore, or you don't really know the reason, but you realize after a while that someone's in a different space. They don't like you anymore, or you can't consider them, at least for the time being, you can't consider them for it to be beneficial for you, or for them, for that matter, to have a relationship, like to have a friendship with them. And then, in another reason maybe why you could even make an enemy of someone is because you think it would be more useful to either of you to kind of be enemies, if that makes sense. Because maybe you're holding each other back, and you sort of want them to improve in certain ways. You want yourself to improve as well. You sort of think that, right, you'll sort of leave them alone, and then you'll be kind of adversaries, because I don't really. There's been a lot of discussion about frenemies, and I don't really, I don't really like that. I don't really like that as a concept. I prefer to have someone who is, a proper friend, someone I can really trust and talk to, and about my problems, and they can talk to about um, my their issues, and kind of be like a two-way thing. But that's not everyone's style, so I don't really find that it would be satisfying to have a frenemy. So there you go. You have these. You're always going to have opponents in various things, um, contests, adversaries, foes, rivals, competitors. Competitors are kind of different. I mean, you can be competitive with someone and still not be, their um, real adversary or sort of arch enemy. Um, But there you go. So, and then I thought about this topic a bit more in Quora, as I usually do, and I saw a post, a very nice post by John DiMarchi, who had he's very into NFL. And I don't know much about that, but he says that he likes everybody. Um, I try to like people. I do, but then they may not always like me. So it's like a two-way thing. So um, I'm friendly when I meet someone, um, and then later on, after a while, you get to know someone, and maybe you get closer. But anyway, some clever people have said different things about this. So Robert Greene said in the 48 Laws of Power book, he said that all great leaders since Moses have known that a feared enemy must be crushed completely. Um, if one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smoulders, a fire will eventually break out. More's lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover and will seek revenge. Crush him not only in body but in spirit. And then there's Machiavelli, who's the very famous Niccolo Machiavelli, who said in The Prince, he said, upon this, one has to remark that men ought either to be well treated or crushed. Um, so I personally, I haven't crushed anyone per se. I haven't done anyone. If someone shows signs of they just don't like me or they've got something against me, I do tend to just I put up a barrier. Like I go my own way. I don't interact. I don't play the game with them anymore if they sort of are showing signs that they really have issues with me. But I don't do anything to crush these people. That's not the way I do it. Obviously, if someone came at me and I'd have to defend myself, but I haven't actually done anything actively to crush people who have something out against me. Um, but anyway, Machiavelli said, "Well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, or more serious ones they cannot. Therefore, the injury that is to be done to a man ought to be of such a kind that one does not stand in fear of revenge. From this arises the question that whether it's better to be loved rather than feared, or feared rather than loved. It might perhaps be answered that we should wish to be both, but since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it's far safer to be feared than loved." So yeah, that's what Machiavelli said. But for me, that's the case. If someone is feeling like that, I just I just don't interact with them. We can't have a friendship anymore, or any kind of contact really, because I just don't have a satisfaction there. Um, but yeah, fair enough. If we are going to be enemies, then we're not going to be interacting with one another, and they can go off and find their new friend people. Um, so Machiavelli believed enemies were useful. They reminded good men that they could come to destruction at the hands of those who were not good. Yes, he has a point there, because I think as I've grown up, I think maybe I've been too trusting in people, and I've been a bit naive about people's intentions, because maybe I had good intentions and for a friend or this and that, but they didn't feel the same about me. So yeah, good point from him too, obviously. So I did, learn something from that. Aesop said that a doubtful friend's worse than a certain enemy. Let a man be one thing or the other, and then we then know how to meet him. So yeah, I think I'm more about the Aesop guy, because yeah, if I'm doubtful about someone, I really, unless they can later show me that I'm going to be very unlikely to give them the benefit of the doubt again, unless I can really see that they have definitely changed the way they're going about their life. Otherwise, no. I mean, we just have to go our separate ways. And then Benjamin Franklin said that you should love your enemies, for they tell you your faults. Yeah, I've seen that. I think maybe discovering some weaknesses in me, definitely some weaknesses from people I've known who have then, decided that they don't want to be um, friendly with me. Sun Tzu had said, "If ignorant both of your enemy and yourself, you're certain to be in peril. Know your enemy and know yourself. You can fight 100 battles without disaster. To fight and conquer in all our battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. So you can break him without fighting him, which is good." Frank Sinatra said that alcohol may be the man's worst enemy, but the Bible says love your enemy. Of course, alcohol's not going to do you any favors in a battle, because you're going to be less prepared if you are intoxicated. So I don't recommend people get intoxicated and then try and start a fight with people. Um, Abraham Lincoln, the president, said the best way to destroy an enemy is to make him a friend. Well, that is a great thing if it's possible. It seems in this environment, maybe it is for the countries to collaborate together to solve this coronavirus. Yeah, I think that is a great way. But who knows? Who knows if it's possible? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Gandhi had said it's easy enough to be friendly to one's friends, but to befriend the one who regards himself as your enemy is the quintessence of true religion. The other is mere business. Yeah, also true, but there are times when people behave, and the way they're behaving is impossible to be friendly for the time being. So if they're being like that for the time being, let them go. Don't know. Maybe many years hence, or a long time hence, the situation can change. I keep an open mind, but and relations between people can have their good and bad points. But I would. I'd be a bit dubious about that one. To For it to be possible always to befriend your enemy, I'm not sure about that. Henry Kissinger said that no one will ever win the battle of the sexes. There's too much fraternizing with the enemy. Okay. So, those are some thoughts on Nemeses, and it all sort of came from this video and this memory of this computer game Nemesis that I played when I was a little boy. So, what do you think about Nemeses? Are you the kind of person who has real friends, or do you just have acquaintances, or are you not able to really have a friendship? Is that more your style? I probably have become more towards the latter, because I'm more cautious than when I was. When you're a little boy, you're just open-minded. You think everyone's great fun, and everyone's wants the best for you, and you're kind of you have that naivety when you're young, and then going through these experiences, it just you learn a lot with what happens to you. Anyway, please subscribe, please click the bell, please like and share this video if you appreciate it. And I don't know, I was trying to think of anything that I might have forgotten about Nemeses. Please tell me what I've forgotten about Nemeses. Can your nemesis, can your friend or best friend turn into your nemesis and then turn back into your friend again? or once they've turned into your sort of weird nemesis or arch rival or whatever, um, does that stay the same forever, or can you ultimately put stuff that's happened behind you and collaborate and help each other again? Um, what do you think about this? Is it not, once you've changed status, once you thought you were friends and then you're not anymore, what where do you go then? Do you just, are they always going to be in that state, or can you do like Rocky 4 and can everyone change and hug at the end and everything be fine again? Or is that just a load of rubbish and Hollywood rubbish? Let me know what you think. Okay. Wishing you a happy, healthy, coronavirus free Saturday evening and rest of weekend. Ciao for now.